what are the three attributes that you believe make a top performer?
So, it's interesting, when you think about that question. So I've already touched on them. Transparency to me is really important. If you're a senior leader, you can't operate in a vacuum in today's world. The employee base in today's world is more street smart and educated than any other we've ever seen. And, based on generational, positioning, what people want is different too. So I think leaders who can be transparent, do better than those who try to hide, the good, the bad, the ugly. I think leaders need to be engaged. An employee needs to be engaged. And in today's world where there's a lot of people working remote, it's a new adventure. We're all Christopher Columbus sailing across the ocean, in this particular case. Or pick your favorite explorer from way back when. And I think the world of business has evolved so much over the last year, probably done 10 years worth of evolution in a very short period of time. So being engaged means something different today than it did 2 years ago. But at the same time, the fact that you need to be engaged as a leader is as important. And I think you then need to also be flexible. The world around us is changing very, very fast. And a lot of that has to do with just technology in general and the information era. Social media and the news comes at us from a lot of different sources, and it comes very fast. There is no delay. I'm 56. If I go back to when my career started, coming out of the military as a young engineer, there were no computers on people's desks. There was no voicemail. There was no email. How did we survive? I had a pager, a little thing that went beep, 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 and I had to go find a payphone when someone was trying to reach me. But it's just, we've evolved so much. The world is happening much faster. I think that today's leaders need to be much more flexible, and they need to be tuned in to change. So the world is sending us a message right now at large. It doesn't matter what side of the message you're on, something is changing fundamentally, on the planet. When you think of diversity, equity, and inclusion, you just think about all the things that have happened with the global pandemic. And it's like the world, if you're going to be a leader in today's world, you need to be transparent, engaged, but you need to be flexible. You need to listen to what the world is telling you at large, and you need to move faster. You need to be able to make pivots and to say, geez, you know what? I didn't think of that. So you not only have to then be flexible, you got to be open to change. The world is changing. You have to read the tea leaves. You have to understand when the world is trying to send you a message. And you may not always get it right, but you need to be flexible and engaged. And, those are the kinds of words that I think about. And then finally, as I touched on with the Barack Obama and the Ronald Reagan story, you need to be able to articulate, you need to be able, what, today's worker doesn't just want to work and get a paycheck. They want to know what this company believes. They want to know what this company thinks. They want to know what the core values are. They want to know how they make a difference to society at large. And they want to come down on the right side, where they think the right side is of all of these things that are happening in our world today. And so I think that leaders today also need to be very articulate. They need to get over any fear of speaking. Their managers manage things. Leaders inspire people. It's far better in today's world to be a leader versus a manager. If I could have one superpower, it would be, I want to be able to articulate a vision like Barack Obama did or Ronald Reagan did, and get people to share, and to believe in that shared vision for the future. And so I think skills of leaders are changing. You need to really be able to articulate that vision. You can hire good managers. You can hire people who can fill in skill gaps that you may have as an individual. But if you really want to hit the C-suite someday, if you want to be a CEO or a successful entrepreneur, you better be able to articulate a vision. So transparency, be engaged, be flexible, and then be able to articulate your vision.
It's such a tough question. I mean, like, I think even about my, my own backgrounds of some others, and I hate, kind of using this phrase of insecure overachiever, because it does have a slightly negative connotation. But I think kind of the tenets of that are just, preparation, always trying to be over prepared. I mean, sometimes I do that almost to a fault. You can't prepare for every possible scenario, but people who are focused on really learning the details, I think, make good investors or operators in this industry. I think you need to have the ambition as well. I mean, it's, to me, one of the things that's most fascinating about our industry is you're always learning something new about what a company does, how it works. I haven't spent my whole career in the industrials landscape. I'm learning something new about a new manufacturing process, about market dynamics in a specific industry every day, and I love that. So being, ambitious about being able to learn a new industry and master it, I think is, another kind of crucial tenet of that, overachiever element that I hit on earlier. And then also being, I think, opportunistic and flexible, sort of being open to trying things, or trying to do something a different way that's a bit outside of your comfort zone. I mean, for me, I have been doing deal origination for several years. I have a little bit of a meandering path into private equity. I didn't really, think of it as a long-term career goal. My career makes much more sense looking backward than I ever, thought it did looking forward as a younger professional earlier on, coming out of college. But I was open to trying new things. And I think, with respect to Middle Ground, I really enjoyed the fundraising process in Fund One. I involved myself as much as the partners would allow for it. And they actually, my role was expanded to include investor relations about 9 months into my time at Middle Ground. So it wasn't something I was originally hired to do here, but something that a part of the business I've really long been interested in. And so it was great to be given that opportunity and kind of be thrust in the deep end on that. And I'm very, appreciative of Middle Ground for giving the opportunity to not just me, but to a lot of our employees to, put their hand up and ask to do something new and kind of make it their own.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's hard to limit it to three, to be kind of honest, but I'll do my best. I think the first one is just having the humility to listen. It kind of goes back to the conversation about, what some private equity firms do wrong, coming in with a punch list of things they've already decided need to be done. There might be a lot of good ideas on that list, but I think you have to have the humility to understand that you don't know everything, and that your management teams know a lot about their business. And by taking the time to listen to them, I just think that you get to a better answer. And I think that you get the team on board with the things that, do rise to the top and kind of make the cut, if you will. And so I think that's a really key dimension of any leader, is just being humble enough to really listen to their team, to their partners, to us as the private equity firm. We get there when we work as a team. We come from a diversity of backgrounds and experiences, and if we combine all of that, we do it, as a team, I think we get to a far better answer. A second dimension that I think is really important is, just kind of having security with, who you are as a leader, knowing very clearly with confidence your strengths, but also having a high degree of awareness of your weaknesses and being okay with them. I think when we partner with executives, if we can have really transparent conversations, and I'll always share, my weaknesses up front, and the things that they need to know about working with me. And it really helps kind of clear the air and make sure that we're getting off on the right foot. And if they can do the same, I think that just really creates a foundation of trust for the partnership. And so security is really important. And then in our industry, The ability to hold people accountable within your team, but also be comfortable being held accountable is really important. It kind of is what defines private equity, is just a focus on performance. And at the heart of that performance is setting goals and holding each other accountable to those goals. And some days that might mean raising your hand and asking for help, and that's perfectly okay. We love getting those phone calls and love being part of that solution when a commitment starts to become more difficult than it was envisioned to be. But man, just being comfortable in that environment is really important in our space.